Welcome to the Digital Academy. I hope you're doing well today and hanging in there. This one today I want to talk about is what makes something Kafkaesque, right? So it's probably a new word for you, but if you're unfamiliar with this author, but if you kind of break it down, Kafka is the guy's last name, and then esque kind of means like, right? So if I was like, um, LeBron James is a little bit Jordan-esque. I mean, like he's not the same, but there's elements of what he does that are similar to Jordan. Maybe how he like dominates late game situations or whatever, right? So esque means Kafkaesque means like Kafkaesque. I'm saying it weird. Kafkaesque means like is it like the kind of things that this author talks about? I hope that had made some sense. That was a bit rambly, but I'm sure this video will do a good job of explaining it. Love you guys. Cheers. Check this out. Digital Academy. Kafkaesque.
Someone must have been telling lies about Joseph K. He knew he had done nothing wrong, but one morning, he was arrested. Thus begins The Trial, one of author Franz Kafka's most well-known novels. K, the protagonist, is arrested out of nowhere and made to go through a bewildering process where neither the cause of his arrest nor the nature of the judicial proceedings are made clear to him. This sort of scenario is considered so characteristic of Kafka's work that scholars came up with a new word for it.
Kafkaesque.
Kafkaesque has entered the vernacular to
It's like
describe
his idea.
unnecessarily complicated and frustrating experiences. Like being
Right? Kafkaesque. It's like when it's a good word, right? Kafkaesque. It's like it means something that like look at this line. This is a great this picture actually captures the whole idea. It's like they come in the back, up, back, up, back, up, back, up, back, up, back, and then just exit the same way. It's like that's insanely complicated for no reason. It probably reminds you of an airport.
forced to navigate labyrinths of bureaucracy. But does standing in a long line to fill out confusing paperwork really capture the richness of Kafka's vision? Beyond the word's casual use, what makes something Kafkaesque? Franz Kafka's stories do indeed deal with many mundane and absurd aspects of modern bureaucracy, drawn in part from his experience of working as an insurance clerk in early 20th century Prague. Many of his protagonists are office workers compelled to struggle through a web of obstacles in order to achieve their goals.
Yeah, so think about this. He's writing this as an insurance broker in in the former country called Czechoslovakia, in Prague. And so he's writing a lot about like this, like if you ever went to get your license renewed, or if you've ever done anything bureaucratic at an admissions office or whatever, and you've stood in long lines and waited for things and done unnecessary seeming paperwork, and it's like you have to do this, and then talk to this person, and take this there, and then get this signed, and then blah blah blah. It's like, man, this guy knows what you mean.
And often the whole ordeal turns out to be so disorienting and illogical that success becomes pointless in the first place. For example, in the short story Poseidon, the ancient Greek god is an executive so swamped with paperwork that he's never had time to explore his underwater domain. The joke here is that not even a god can handle the amount of paperwork demanded by the modern workplace. But the reason why is telling. He's unwilling to delegate any of the work because he deems everyone else unworthy of the task. Kafka's Poseidon is a prisoner of his own ego. This simple story contains all of the elements that make for a truly Kafkaesque scenario. It's not the absurdity of bureaucracy alone, but the irony of the character's circular reasoning in reaction to it that is emblematic of Kafka's writing.
Circular
His
reasoning.
tragicomic stories act as a form of mythology for the modern industrial age, employing dream logic to explore the relationships between systems of arbitrary power and the individuals caught up in them. Take, for example, Kafka's most famous story, Metamorphosis. When Gregor Samsa awakens one morning to find himself transformed into a giant insect, his greatest worry is that he gets to work on time. Of course, this proves impossible. It was not only the authoritarian realm of the workplace that inspired Kafka. Some of his protagonist's struggles come from within. The short story A Hunger Artist describes a circus performer whose act consists of extended fasts. He's upset that the circus master limits these to 40 days, believing this prevents him from achieving greatness in his art. But when his act loses popularity, he is left free to starve himself to death. The twist comes when he lays dying in anonymity, regretfully admitting that his art has always been a fraud. He fasted not through strength of will, but simply because he never found a food he liked. Even in the trial, which seems to focus directly on bureaucracy, the vague laws and bewildering procedures point to something far more sinister.
Circular.
The terrible momentum of the legal system proves unstoppable.
Right, so like you're supposed to be feeling like, what the hell is the point of this, right? It's like, you read the story and it's like, there's a brilliance in it though. There's a brilliance in it. It captures something. I'm struggling trying to think of how I would say what this even is. It's almost like a critique on the tediousness of things that affects us at a very deep psychological level, but that's kind of hard to put your finger on because it's so much of what we just consider normal.
Even by supposedly powerful officials. This is a system that doesn't serve justice, but whose sole function is to perpetuate itself. What political theorist Hannah Arendt, writing years after Kafka's death, would call tyranny without a tyrant.
Whoa,
Yet
that's
accompanying
a good
the bleakness
phrase.
of Kafka's stories, there's a great deal of humor, rooted in the nonsensical logic of the situations described. So on the one hand, it's easy to recognize the Kafkaesque in today's world. We rely on increasingly convoluted systems of administration that have real consequences on every aspect of our lives.
Oh, what a picture.
And we find our every word judged by people we can't see according to rules we don't know. On the other hand, by
Quick time out to give Afterskool, the animators here, an A+ on this one. This animation is so, like, look at it. Look at all the insect men.
fine-tuning our attention to the absurd, Kafka also reflects
Oh no,
our
they got gas
shortcomings back at
masks.
ourselves. In doing so, he reminds us that the world we live in is one we create and have the power to change for the better.
Now you can't say that you don't know what Kafkaesque means, right? So there are these, it's a reference. It's almost like I did a video just really recently about how to understand what people mean when they say Orwellian. It's kind of in the same model as that. But yeah, so Kafkaesque means like, man, this is almost like ironically tedious, but at a level that, yeah, man, I would, if you're interested, I would recommend The Trial. That's a cool book, The Trial by Kafka. All right, love you guys. Take care, and I hope you found this interesting. I did 3 quick ones. I got to go, take care of some real life responsibilities now. Got to cut the lawn, whippersnip a bit. My daughter's at my parents' for a little bit. Then I got to go pick her up. Then her and me and the wife might go for some dinner or something. But anyways, I hope you guys do your best to have as good of a day as you can. Stay strong and hang in there. All right. Cheers.